There's a slight chance I went a little nuts buying the new vinyl. Hey everyone, the December Review here. 2019 was a great year for music, so here are my albums of the year. Number 10.
Natasha Bedingfield, Roll With Me. A bit more low-key than some of her previous albums, Roll With Me showcases Natasha's great vocals and lyrics, along with the always reliable, catchy melody lines. A little reggae feeling here, a little 90s vibe there, a bit low-key overall, but Roll With Me has all of the signature Natasha Bedingfield moments on it.
Number 9.
Billie Eilish, When We Fall Asleep, Where Do We Go? I could put this one a little bit higher on the list. It's a very interesting record, filled with amazing studio production and that at times invoked classic Marilyn Manson while having its own true and original voice. Billie walks uncomfortably down her path in life with serious bravado and painstakingly honest lyrics. Her videos and live act adds to the uniqueness of her sound. This is an extremely very well made album. The production is top notch here. I'm actually kind of in awe at times. This is a great album, great lyrics, very interesting live act as well. A lot of this was done with her brother, and it's an extremely well-paced album, and I highly recommend it.
Number 8.
Silver Sun Pickups, Widow's Weeds. Another gem from this low-key band that have continued to turn out great rock and roll guitar music for many years. This is an interesting album. In some ways, there's a lot here that brings back feelings of their second album, Swoon, which I still think is probably their best complete album overall. It's actually the one that got me into them. But it also is a continuation of their previous efforts. So while there's hints of Swoon, it's definitely, I think, probably their most mainstream album. I don't know. That's kind of a weird thing to say to one kind of a indie, slightly underground rock band, but it feels a little bit more mainstream at times. Maybe that just has to do with the production. It's a very clean sounding record, which I love. If you've heard me talk about some of the track by tracks that I've done or stumbled through in the past, I like a good clean sounding production, and this album has got that all over it. Great album by Silver Sun Pickups, and they're going to be touring in my neck of the woods coming around early next year, so I think I'm going to take this opportunity to check them out live for the first time, so looking forward to that. Number 8, Silver Sun Pickups, great album.
Number 7.
Tegan and Sara, Hey, I'm Just Like You. So Tegan and Sara returned in 2019, jumping off the pop dance train they had been rolling along with the past few years and landing straight back into their roots, literally. They dug out their old high school tapes and basically re-recorded and created this album from them. Laced with classic TNS throughout its runtime. While not quite reaching the heights of, say, The Con or So Jealous, it does motor along with that undeniable dual vocal attack. It's a nice piece of current history for TNS and makes me wonder even more what the next chapter will bring.
Number 6.
The Magpie Salute, High Water 2. With the news that the Black Crowes are back together, only forgetting to bring along anyone else from the Black Crowes. I mean, seriously, the Magpie Salute had more members in it than the New Crowes do. Magpie did manage to release its second collection of all original songs this year. A bit bittersweet, as it seemed the band will also bow out with this fantastic rock and roll collection. It seems they saved most of the up-tempo numbers for High Water 2, as the action kicks in quick and barely lets up throughout its duration. Mark Ford and Rich Robinson fans will be thrilled to hear their unmatched capability together here as both guitar players get to stretch it out. With a great mix and production, the entire band is on fire. It's a shame we won't get to see this done live, but regardless of the circumstances around its release, Highwater 2 has the Magpie salute going out on a home run.
Number 5.
Better Oblivion Community Center. Alright, so I have this currently at number 5. This could very easily be number 1. That's what kind of year it was. Wow, and what an album this is. Started getting into Phoebe Bridgers, I guess this time last year, at some point last year, and then as 2019 rolled around, we had Better Oblivion Community Center drop, and picked it up as soon as it came out, and was lucky enough to see them live as well. Yeah, again, this could easily be number 1 in any given year. There are multiple tracks on this album that are going to stay with me from here on out. I mean, didn't know what I was in for. Service Road, My City, of course, Dylan Thomas. On and on. The album is just filled with amazing lyrics, amazing dynamics. Between Connor and Phoebe, the way they kind of just go off of each other on each song. This is great stuff, and the community aspect of it can't be underestimated or can't be discussed enough as well. It feels like a thing. This is a concept album, from the name of the band to the artwork to the videos that they put out, to just going to the show. Everything was there's a lot of time and effort put into creating this Better Oblivion Community Center. The backdrop of their live act, it was very much a welcoming community. This is one fantastic record. Shaking my head now, even thinking that I have it 5 on my list. Again, that just goes to show what kind of year it was overall. Easily a number 1 album. Easily an album I'm going to be listening to for forever. And multiple anthem songs on here that will definitely be a part of my top songs of the year, which I'll be coming out with soon enough. And pretty much my top song list will be all songs off the albums I'm talking about here, especially the top 5. And BOCC will have a whole bunch of them. Go run, stream this album, download this album. Here's a weird idea. Go to a store, and if you can actually find an album, a record store, give them like $12 and take this thing home. It is definitely worth it. Hopefully, this is not the end of Better Oblivion, and maybe a year or 2 down the road, we will get Chapter 2.
Number 4.
Kate Davis, Trophy. Kate Davis was a new artist to enter my world this year. Following a recommendation post on Facebook for her song Rabbits, I quickly fell for Kate's voice and lyrics. The album feels very much early 90s in its sweet and easy laid-back rock, yet cutting through and not afraid to take things up a level or 3. Do yourself a favor and go check out the song Daisy for a quick crash course in what the entire album holds. Go ahead, do it now. I'll wait. Daisy, go check it out. All right, you back? Cool. Pretty damn good, huh? So, yeah, like I said, this was a recommendation post from another artist, and I was instantly drawn into it for the song Rabbits. The song itself was great, and the video, too, was very strong visual going there. So when you add it all together, it was easy for me to kind of be like, wow, this is great. In fact, I had this one at number 5 originally, and the more and more I listen to it, it just grows and grows and grows. And again, the song Daisy alone, I mean, the whole album's great, but I can't stress enough just what that song means for me overall. Rabbits is great. Trophy, the song Trophy is fantastic. Did You Love Somebody? I Like Myself. Burning Accidents, another example of great production. Great musicians on this record, great lyrics on this record. There's just a lot of great things about this album, which is why it lands at number 4. Daisy will definitely be somewhere very, very high up on my top songs of the year as well. In case you couldn't have figured that part out just yet.
Number 3.
All right. Number 3 will be Alice Merton Mint, and by proxy, Mint Plus 4. She put out the album again late in the year, added 4 extra songs on there. Just have to mention on that Plus 4 is a song called Back to Berlin. Highly recommend checking that out. Obviously, highly recommend buying the album, but if you only listen to one song on Plus 4, that's part of the Plus 4, listen to Back to Berlin. That song is fantastic. It was something that I heard a year and a half, 2 years ago or so from her, just like live version stuff, so it's really cool to see that get recorded and put on an album properly. But overall, Mint, my number 3 album of 2019, once again, easily a number 1 album any other year. Front to back, this album is loaded with some great songs. Alice has twice now given me 2 moments in life where I go, holy shit, what the hell was that, on first listen. So a couple of years ago on my birthday, I was driving home from work, running through all the local radio stations, and I landed on the beginning of No Roots. It was Friday, and I heard the song just the one time in my car, and I could not get it out of my head, like most people who have heard the song No Roots. But I was kind of in awe listening to the song for the first time. Like, I'll never forget hearing it for the first time. I was like, what is this? It was you hear new songs, and, you like it, you don't like it. But there was something different about this. She drops Mint, and I remember hearing Learn to Live for the first time right before the album dropped. She put it out beforehand, and similar experience. I was at work on lunch. I played the song, and I was immediately like, oh, what is this? Top to bottom, this is just a great album. Very upbeat album, very catchy album, very high energy album. Musically, it's fantastic. Another one that sounds great. The production is great. There literally is not a bad song here. Learn to Live, Funny Business is an excellent song. Homesick is great. Speak Your Mind is a fantastic song. Trouble in Paradise, Why So Serious, I Don't Hold a Grudge. On and on and on it goes. There is nothing bad about this record. It's extremely catchy. These songs, they have hooks. And I don't mean like, oh, we need a hook like the chorus. I mean, the songs literally have it's like you opened up the box in Hellraiser, and then here comes Pinhead and all the Cenobite friends, and the hooks come flying at you, and bammo, it's like, hey, speak your mind, hook right into you, and then you're just stuck with that forever, It's a great album. So for a relatively short period of time, she's definitely putting out a lot of great material. Not even just average stuff. This is legit fantastic album. Top to bottom. Go out, run out, stream this, buy this.
Number 2.
Sharon Van Etten, Remind Me Tomorrow. It's been quite the wait to hear some new Sharon Van Etten. It was, I think, about 4 or 5 years in between albums, her last one being Are We There? And I had the lovely pleasure of seeing her live opening up for Amy Mann many, many, many years ago, and from there just got hooked on all things Sharon Van Etten. Remind Me Tomorrow is a bit of a departure A good departure, a departure nonetheless. Different sound for Sharon overall. All these songs still translate very well to her previous work, but this is more of a, I don't know, rock album, if you want to call it that. It's a lot more in your face, a lot more synth heavy, a lot more upbeat might be the wrong term, but it's a different vibe that she's going for here, which makes sense. I mean, she took that time off, and there was a lot going on in her life, and all of those pieces come together on "Remind Me Tomorrow," which is all the reasons why it comes in at number 2. Again, easily a number 1 album any other year. I need 5 years for all these albums that I got this year to kind of, have their own spotlight. All these albums deserve their own video. I could go into detail, ramble on into detail about all of these songs one by one. But with that said, Remind Me Tomorrow is another one filled front to back. There is not a bad song on this record. The opening single, Comeback Kid, and then obviously the breakthrough hit 17. Holy shit, let's take a moment to talk about 17. I remember, this is another one, in my car at lunch. Album's coming out in a few weeks, or however it was, and this song's posted. Check out the new single. I'm like, all right, this is cool. All right, this is cool. And then that last verse hit, and I went, all right, I'm like, wow. I mean, that's as real as it gets. I mean, the song's already fantastic, but that's as real as it gets. That's someone literally bearing their soul on a track that's, I don't think I've really ever seen or heard ever before, and probably won't ever again. That's a defining moment in probably Sharon's career in music in general. I'm overstating it a bit. Shout out to the fact that there's a Black Crowes reference on this album. That was another thing that blew my mind. I had to text my friend. Shout out to Neil. When I heard that, I go, oh my God. I'm like, that didn't just happen. I rewound that part of the song probably 15 times and went, she's not saying the Black Crowes. It's got to be like the Black Keys or something else. She's not saying Black Crowes. No, she's saying the Black Crowes. So that's, pretty cool. No One's Easy to Love. I just got to take a moment to say another fantastic standout track from any artist in any year. That song is just great. You Shadow, Hands, Jupiter 4. Oh my God, Jupiter 4 is a great song. Memorial Day, I Told You Everything. Told You Everything is cool because it kind of starts off this album very similar, same note, same piano note key that Are We There kind of hit. So I kind of appreciate how it all kind of like, there's a common line, it feels like, with the albums and the natural progression that they have. So once again, Sharon Van Etten, Remind Me Tomorrow, number 2, easily could be number 1. But there was one other album that came out this year.
My choice for the number 1 album of 2019.
Sara Bareilles, Amidst the Chaos. All right, so for anybody who knows me, probably would say, yeah, saw that coming. But I will say, once again, in a year filled with great music, this was not always going to be the number 1 album just because it was Sara Bareilles, probably my favorite artist. But, yeah, I mean, she didn't disappoint. She would have had to have done something really, really horrible for me not to have it number 1. And fortunately, that's not what she does, so don't have to worry about that. Amidst the Chaos, the long-awaited album from Sara. Another one, she took a few years off. She's been doing the waitress thing, put the album out for that great album. Go out and get that one a few years back. But for her next set of, quote-unquote solo original material, it had been a bit of a wait for for Sarah. So with that said, was it worth the wait? Of course. Where to begin? I think I'll just begin with what the song that pretty much became like the cornerstone of her tour this year, and that is Orpheus. This one stood out to me immediately when listening to the album for the first time. Probably top 5 Sarah songs, which is tough to narrow down because she's got a whole lot of them. But lyrically, emotionally, it's pretty much the center of the record, the center of really her career, and it's a down and dirty little track is what it is, and it really gets to, and what's so great about Sarah, she really has a wonderful way of kind of getting to the point, the very honest point with her lyrics, and Orpheus is a shining example of that, and this album is loaded with them, whether it's A Safe Place to Land or Saint Honesty or one of my now all-time favorite songs, Someone Who Loves Me. Now talk about a gut punch. Someone Who Loves Me, man, that song gets me every single time. I was a little bit worried leading up to this album that it might be a bit too political. Obviously, what's going on in the world the last few years with politics, it as it will creep into mainstream and all, types of music. And it did here, but thankfully, there's really only one track, Armor, where it's obvious, and that's a great song. But my fear is that we were going to have a full album of that, and we don't. A lot of the songs were written from a political perspective, but thankfully, it's some of it's a bit more metaphoric, or that's the great thing about music, is that you can kind of you can hear a lyric and I can take it one way, and then you can take it another way, and that works to this album's advantage as well. Sarah may have kind of had something in mind when she was writing some of these songs, but thankfully, you take out of it, what you're feeling and how you're feeling at the time and what you're kind of going through at the time, and that's one of her greatest strengths, is because she writes these. She comes from places that I think the listener really can kind of, pull something out of that's very relatable to their lives as well. And so, Amidst the Chaos has that in spades. It's all over this album. It's a bit more low key than her previous works. That seems to be a vibe. I mean, when I go back and think about all the albums here, the majority of them are a bit more low key than what what the artists have done previously. Again, I don't know if that's just the way things kind of are these days. No Such Thing. Have to point that song out as well. Brutally honest song. I really like the kind of like floaty piano parts to it. I have no idea what I'm saying. It's hard for me to explain these things. It's hard for me to explain music, so let me do a music video. If I Can't Have You, that's really cool because it has a nice little jam at the end, and I remember listening to it the first 10 or 15 times, and I started counting the measures at the end. I'm like, I need to figure that out because it's great because it just goes on and on and on. I'm like, well, but I know that there's, a pattern here, and I'm like, I got to find the pattern. So I remember in my head a handful of times just counting out. I'm like, all right, there's 4, there's 4, there's 4, and there's the end. All right, I got to remember that. It's the old ways of when I would go learn songs. You just kind of have to time it out sometimes. Eyes on You, another great song. Really cool how she kind of like just brings up different names and just talks about what's going on in their life. Poetry by Dead Men, another fantastic song. Reminds me a little bit of something off of Blessed Unrest. So yes, that is my number 1 album of the year, Sara Bareilles, Amidst the Chaos. So, 2019 was a great year for music for me. Not only getting these albums, but also going to see live music. heard the majority of the bands I mentioned here, the artists I mentioned here, I was also fortunate enough to go see live. It was actually a bit too hectic at times, but trying to fit in some other things as well, and I kind of started really feeling it towards the end of the year. I think I overextended myself at times, but you know what? Overall, for all the experiences that I had and all the miles I put on my car, it was definitely worth it. So there we go. Those are my albums of the year. Hopefully, if you haven't heard of some of these and you're listening, definitely recommend checking all of them out. Daisy by Kate Davis. Do yourself a huge favor. Buy all of these albums. Listen to that song. It's fantastic. All right. Until next time, the December review is out. Technically, it wasn't really my fault. I had some snafus with shipping, so I had to buy and then rebuy the album, and then I ended up getting one back. But album of the year. I have to be careful with this because if I drop any of these, I'm going to be very upset.